Welcome to Digimon.
Hello and welcome to Digimon and to a deck profile Wednesday. Normally we do our deck profiles on a Monday, but because of our reduced upload schedule during the Christmas and New Year period, we are down to 2 uploads a week until the 8th of January when we'll be back up to 3. So decided to do a deck profile on a Wednesday this week, and then we've got an upcoming match on Saturday as well. If you do like this content and the other bits that we've done on the channel, please make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel and ding that notification bell so that you don't miss out on any of our content. It really helps with the support of the channel, and you know, it's great to just see more people wanting to view our stuff. But onto our deck profile for today. So as you may have noticed, keen-eyed viewers may have noticed, this little guy, my Tyrannomon memory counter from the gift box that Bandai packaged up with the crap little blue pillar, always makes an appearance. And that's because Tyrannomon is, and that's why the pillar's crap. Tyrannomon is one of my favourite Digimon, always has been, basically been my number 2 favourite after the Greymon line. Always loved the Digimon, always loved the you know, its representation and what it means for the franchise. Unfortunately, it's not always been a meta contender, but I think now in BT14, Tyrannomon is at the best place it has been for a long, long time. Now, what we're going to be doing as well for this deck profile, we're not going to do any test hands for this one. We are just going to go straight into just a deck profile. But the reason being for that is I'm actually going to be, as we go through the deck profile, I'll also be talking about some ways to make the deck a little bit more tribal, because the version that I play is a little bit more of a green toolbox rather than kind of a pure Tyrannomon deck. So if you wanted to make it more of a pure Tyrannomon deck, then you're more than welcome to. And there's some little recommendations that I'm going to make as we go forward. But starting off with our Digitamers, you will notice I've got 2 separate piles for my Digitamers because we are playing 5. First off, 4 copies of BT11 Tamers. This is the best egg that we've got currently. I think this will be replaced once the structure decks for Double Typhoon come out, because the egg in that is just a Wanyamon for green. So I think that's going to be the better pick going forward. But for now, this is our pick. Works really well because we are quite a tamer heavy deck, and works very well as part of like a draw engine along with one of our rookies. But before we get onto that rookie, our 5th egg is Pinamon. When attacking an opponent's Digimon, draw 1. We are attacking Digimon quite frequently with this deck, especially when we get to our level 6s. However, I would say this is less consistent than this in terms of the draw power, but you know, play things to personal preference. You could take out one of these and go 3 and 1, or you could go 3 and 2, whatever you want to do. This is personally my preference at the moment. Could change, you know, but we'll see how things go. Next up, we've got 4 copies of Agumon from BT10. Really good little draw engine that this guy gives along with the Tyrannomon. Whenever a tamer gets played, draw 1. So you're doing a pot of greed for any former or current Yu-Gi-Oh players that are watching. You know, whenever you play a tamer, which is really cool. Also, as the inheritable, when an opponent's Digimon specifically becomes suspended, you actually draw 1 as well, so it still helps you with the draw even then. Tyrannomon, unfortunately, has always had a bit of a history with searching and consistency, so at least increasing our draw power is, I find, quite a good way to go. You could, if you wanted to, as a different searcher, you could go Kunamon, which is one of the ones which I could recommend for either this or the tribal version. In fact, the rookie line I would say is probably the same for both. Reason why this is quite good is on play you can suspend it and reveal top 3 and add 1 green card. That does work better in this version because all of our cards are green, whereas in the tribal version you may be playing what is counted as a red card when it's in the deck. So just bear that in mind. But this is a good option as well if you wanted to play a specific searcher. But I do find the draw power kind of does the job better, and we then end up running out of space for other important things with the deck as well if we go for this one. Next rookie that I'm playing is 4 copies of BT14 Palmon. Obviously, a really great pick for, you know, Bloom Lords and stuff like that, but it works generically for Tyrannomon as well. Start of main, one of your opponent's Digimon gains all turns when this Digimon becomes suspended, lose 2 memory, which is fantastic, because once we get to our level 5s and our level 6s, we've got ways of suspending them, so we can actually gain memory for going into our Digimon, going into our big guys, and that can help to kind of swing things back to our turn. But you know, it essentially just means that you can gain 2 memory when you suspend something. Also, if you've got a green tamer, which we always do, reduce digivolution costs by 1 when you go up into something, which is fantastic. This deck has some really great ways of being able to cheapen digivolution costs and just go into things completely for free. It's great. Now, next 4 cards are 4 copies of BT11 Agumon. Now, I've got a problem with this card. I've got a really big problem with it. Every searcher from BT11 searches a thing and a tamer. So BT11 Galmon searches a blue tamer and something with Galga in its name. Trashes the rest. That's fine. BT11 Agumon X searches a Greymon or an X antibody and a black tamer. Put the rest to the bottom. Great. Beamon searches a vaccine and a red tamer. This, for whatever reason, reveal top 4, that's great, we reveal more cards, but adds 1 tamer, and that's it. Any tamer you want, you could add any colour tamer. If you wanted to, you could play this in any deck, hard play it, and add any tamer in the game. Great stuff. However, what we really want is something that searches Tyrannomons in name, and I cannot stop going on about it. It really annoys me. But the Inheritable's good. And that's why I play it over this, because 2000, if you've got a green tamer in play, helps to boost us up. So, Bandai, if you're listening, if I could get a green Agumon that searches a tamer, even if it's like Tiger specifically, and then also searches a Tyrannomon in name, that would make my 2024. I don't know if you're going to do that, but I'm hoping you do. Because at the moment, I hate this card with a passion, but I have to play it anyway because it's still a good option. Right, now we're going to get to our level 4s. Now this is where stuff can start kind of becoming a bit more tribal as we go on. The first card we're going to talk about is something that kind of makes up for you, is the BT14 Tyrannomon. I'm just going to put my pre-release one at the front. Why not? Start of main. For the turn, when this Digimon would digivolve into a card with Tyrannomon in its name, or the Dinosaur or Ceratopsian trait, so bear that in mind, Dorbic players, reduce the digivolution cost by 1, which is just a brilliant effect. That lasts the entire turn. Anything you go into that has Tyrannomon in its name will be reduced by 1. Another tool to help us reduce things down. Then it's inheritable. If this Digimon has Tyrannomon in its name, or the Dinosaur Ceratopsian trait, it may attack, so it gets a pseudo blitz at the end of the turn as well, which is just phenomenal. The only downside is the fact that it costs 3, which can be mitigated in this deck. We've got lots of ways of reducing digivolution cost, but as we're doing this mainly in the raising to get that start of main, it doesn't come up as much, so just bear that in mind. In fact, there's another issue with the next card as well, is 2 copies of Tyrannomon from BT11. On play, when digivolving, play out a tamer with a play cost of 3 or less, which is brilliant actually, because a lot of cards that play tamers will specifically name a tamer, which is really good, but they will kind of tell you that you can't do that again if you've got tamers in play, which can be a bit of an issue. So obviously bear that in mind. You know, this won't play out your memory tamer, but it can play out all of your other tamers. Also, it has that same inheritable as the Agumon to gain 2000. Now, if you were playing a more tribal version, I would bump this up to 4 copies for definite. In my version 2, because there's a card that came out in BT14 that does its job, but a lot better. So in my green toolbox version, it's at 2, but if I was playing this tribally, I would play this at 4. Next is 4 copies of Togemon from good old BT14. This absolutely does this, but better. So you can suspend itself or something else that you have on board to play out a tamer for a reduced cost of 3, which means that any of your 3-cost tamers are now coming out for free, and your 4-cost tamers are coming out for 1, which is just so good. has the same inheritable as the Palmon as well, so reducing digivolution cost further as the game goes on. And then what's brilliant about this as well is, you know, just how cheaply it does everything. You know, 2 cost, it allows you to go things a lot more in terms of the reduction. Obviously, if you're playing a tribal version, you won't be playing this at all. So my recommendation for a tribal version would probably be a line of 4, and then either 2 with the EX1 Tyrannomon, lets you play out a tiger if you don't have one, and it's treated as green and digivolves on top of green. Just bearing in mind, this can't be searched by Kudamon if you're playing it, or by some of the option cards, but it is a really good card for that. You could also play 2 of the BT2 Tyrannomon. We colloquially call him Horseface because he's got such a long face. And he's kind of cool. He lets you add a level 5 or a green tamer, so it does give you a searcher, but it's kind of got old searcher syndrome where it doesn't search enough, so I'd probably recommend that. So if you're going more tribal, I would go 4, 4, and 4, but for my toolbox version, we're binning this lot over here, and we're going for 4 copies of the Togemon, just because it does this job, but better, and just speeds up the game massively for us. Really, my deck is kind of dinosaurs with added plants, I'll be honest. But, you know, that's the way I like it. And you just got to play what you like, really. Next up, level 5s. 3 copies of Metal Tyrannomon. Best level 5 we've got, when digivolving and an on-play as well. For each green or black tamer you have in play, suspend one of your opponent's Digimon. Then one of your opponent's suspended Digimon can't unsuspend during the opponent's next unsuspend phase, which can be enough. There are decks that can get around that. You know, for example, blue decks can unsuspend during the main phase, so it doesn't do much against them, but other decks, it works really well. Then the inheritable is where it really gets really good. When this Digimon deletes an opponent's Digimon in battle, trash the top card of your opponent's security stack, which is just fantastic. Trashing is the best form of security removal, and it works great in conjunction with our main boss monster. Then, next up, 3 copies of Master Tyrannomon. So this is kind of our next option. You could very well play this at 4 and play this at 2. This is kind of what I like to do. Just go 3 and 3. So he gives security attack +1 to all of your Tyrannomons, which can be quite good. You know, everything with Tyrannomon and its name will get security attack +1. So if you've got more than one Tyrannomon on board, they both get security attack +1, including itself. It also gives security attack +1 generically as the inheritable as well, which is great. Obviously, both of these are 4 cost, but we've got lots of ways of reducing digivolution cost in this deck, so it's not too bad now. Then, next up, 2 copies of Lilymon Ace. Now, this was kind of a flex spot. I think in the very first Tyrannomon video, which is linked down in the description, I was actually playing Panyamon to go with one of our level 6s, but I found in that very match, I needed so many ways to get rid of potential kind of cards that would turn into aces. So I decided to run this because this works quite well for that. You know, it suspends something on board and then bottom decks something with 5,000 DP or less, which tends to be the threshold for a lot of level 4s. So it works really great in that regard for that. Obviously, bear in mind this plus our next boss monster. You ideally do not want to be digivolving our big boss monster on this because you'll be giving someone a lot of memory if it gets killed because of the overflow. And again, if you're playing a more tribal version, I would recommend 2 copies of Metal Tyrannomon. I actually only have 1, annoyingly, hence why I tend to play more of a toolbox version as well. But I would definitely play 2 copies of Metal Tyrannomon over this. Really cheap digivolution cost, just 2 compared to 4 over here and 3. And then the inheritable, which can come up, but not entirely, you know, all the time. But inheritable for this is when this Digimon deletes one of your opponent's level 6 or higher Digimon in battle, you unsuspend, and that's not once per turn. So if there's a deck you're going up against that spams out level 6s, you could potentially, you know, swing. I don't think it comes up as much as people think, though, so I tend to prefer this kind of lineup. But again, if you're playing the tribal version, I would go 2 of that. Next up, level 6s. That can't be a Tyrannomon deck without Rust Tyrannomon, and we got the massive upgrade in terms of Rust Tyrannomons when it came to BT14. 4 copies of Rust Tyrannomon Ace. I love this card. It was a pain in the ass to get. No one pulled it at locals. I spent a whole weekend at regionals in Liverpool trying to hunt down 4 copies of it, and I managed it. By the end of the weekend, I had 4. I went up there with none. I think, no, 1? None or 1. Charles might have given me 1, I can't remember, but I'm sure he'll let me know. But I finished off the weekend with 4 copies, which was great. Thank you again to Griffin's Gaming for letting me pester you for the whole weekend. Really appreciated that. Shout out to you guys. But Rust Tyrannomon Ace, back into Digimon the game rather than my life stories, is great card. Obviously it's an ace, so we've got a level 5 out, we can blast Digivolve into it. Suspends everything on board that is DP equal or less to it, which is fantastic. Also, on your turn, when this Digimon would delete something in battle, it trashes the top of their security, which works great in conjunction with either of our 2 Tyrannomons. So if we've got this, obviously we're trashing 2 cards. If it's this plus another card on board, we can actually gain piercing and then do 3 checks essentially, which is fantastic. So either way, you're kind of doing 3 checks with those. Obviously, just bear in mind, try not to digivolve with that, because if you do, you're in for a very bad time. Sometimes you won't be able to avoid it, but if this dies, you're giving them 7 memory, which I don't know if you're aware, is a lot. So definitely there. Then the next 2, I couldn't part with these guys because he's a pretty little old dude. It's Digimon. 2 copies of Digimon from BT11. I think he's really good for late game recovery. He attacks in, he reveals up to the top of your reveals up to the amount of tamers you've got in play, and then plays out anything play cost of 10 or less. And it is up to, so it doesn't matter if it's 1 Digimon that costs 10 or 3 Digimon that costs 3. It really doesn't matter. He will just get you sorted. We don't have access to Rush because we don't have the Panyamon in this build. But he still works really well for that. He also, when digivolving, will mill off and try and bring out a tamer if there's something searched from there. Now, obviously, if you did want to play more tribally, just replace him with Rust Tyrannomon from BT11. That's probably your next best bet, I would say. Really good card. Depending on how many tamers you've got, you're guaranteed to go into this for free, especially because we've got so many digivolution cost reductions anyway. And also, when he deletes something in battle, you unsuspend. So, really great card. To be fair, I've been thinking about, even in my green toolbox version, having him instead of GG anyway. But I can't pass with it. I can't part with the Digimon. I love him too much. It might even be a case of I make a Digimon deck at some point. Probably for BT15, I would say, with the new, I think it's Barbamon coming out. People in the comments can let me know on that one. And also let me know if you want to see a Digimon deck. Why not? I'll do it. I don't mind. I am, the Jank tank. Coming up with those ideas and putting them forward to you guys. But yeah, that's what I play a bit more tribal. Then we are playing 1 level 7 in this deck as well. He needs no introduction. It's Quartzmon. Quartzmon is one of the most disgusting cards in the game. It's so potent with what it does. Suspends everything on board, including your own stuff. Then you gain memory for everything that is suspended. So potentially you can reduce its own digivolution cost by a massive amount, even go for free, depending on how much stuff is on board. He's green as well, so bearing in mind, we can reduce the digivolution cost of him through a lot of generic ways. And then when attacking, suspend one of your opponent's Digimon, and then trash your opponent's security stack for every 5 suspended Digimon and or tamers, which is really strong. And the gain memory, just to clarify on that, is you gain 1 memory for every 2 suspended, not every 1, so just bear that in mind. But really good card. I've been thinking about bumping him up to 2. Not quite there on that yet, though. But yeah, Quartzmon's great. Next is our tamers. So first of all, we've got 3 copies of BT2 Tiger. reduces all of our Tyrannomon digivolutions by 1, and he gives anything with Tyrannomon in its name piercing, which works really well with that Rust Tyrannomon Ace, to help us get extra checks in, and you know, gives just piercing to everything. So which is really strong, and just the digivolution cost is brilliant as well. Then we've also got 3 copies of Tiger from BT11. Again, this is a digivolution cost reduction guy. So when you're digivolving into a level 5 or higher, you can suspend him to reduce something by 1. Also gives 1000 DP to everything on your board during your turn, which is really strong. Helps you kind of beating over Digimon that you otherwise might not be able to. Great card, reduces everything really well. Then the last tamer, 2 copies of Mimi. Generically, it's been one of the best tamers since it came out in BT1, and really helps to speed things up, and also kind of get cheeky game wins as well, because if you've got something in the raising and you can just kind of go, out you come, you can get a nice swing off with that, which is really good. But yeah, no, really good card there, just in terms of it, and you know, also a lot easier to bring out now because of the Togemon. So again, why I play this version as opposed to the tribal version, because we've got access to Togemon and we can reduce this down to 1 cost, which is just phenomenal, bringing out a memory tamer of Mimi's caliber, for example, for 1 cost. Then our last array of things are option cards. Obligatory 4 copies of green training, agility training rather, because of the fact that trading cards are just so strong. We want the digivolution reduction stuff. We need a good searcher. This searches everything in the deck, unless you're paying the tribal version, and then this becomes your worst nightmare if you mill both of those. But I digress. You know, we know why they're in here. It's super generic, super strong, reduces digivolutions by 2. What's great as well in terms of how, you know, the timing works. Now, unlike with a memory boost, these can't stack on top of each other. Memory boost, you could go gain 2 memory, gain 2 memory. With these, you only go, okay, I have to digivolve now, reduced by 2. But the great thing is, because the Tigers, both of them, are Wens, these can still trigger to reduce further, and the same goes for the Togemon and the Palmon. So you can you can bring out stuff for free, which is absolutely brilliant. You know, definitely recommend doing that. And then the last card, just as a removal tool, and actually it's not come up for me yet, is Grandel Soul. When you would use this card, you can and you have 2 or more suspended green Digimon in play, reduce the cost by 2, which is pretty cool. And then suspend one of your opponent's Digimon, then return one of your opponent's suspended Digimon to the bottom of its owner's deck. Reason for that is, again, just because in that match I was having, down in the description, I found so many times where I needed to remove something, so this is a great removal tool. One of the best we've got as a green deck. You know, so I think it's a good pick. If you wanted to be more thematic and go tribal, maybe play Buster Dive, but it's not that great of a card. I would probably just play this anyway, but that's my deck, guys. We've got some tribal recommendations. If you'd like to see a tribal deck played out in a match, let me know in the comments below. You know, otherwise, you know, let me know what you prefer, the kind of the green toolbox or the tribal stuff. And we'll see what we can do on the channel to accommodate seeing those things. But until next time, keep it digital.